All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. We are doing things on a Friday today because I had human things on Thursday. So here we are. Welcome back, everyone. Joining me today is my host and co-host Peter, as always.
Hello. So,
Oh,
debunking Christianity on Thank God It's Friday sounds like we picked a good day.
I think so. Yeah. And also we have one of my editors, Nestlig. Welcome back.
Hello, I'm happy it's now weekend. Yay.
Yes,
Woo! Yay!
but it's already
Yeah.
Saturday for me, so there is that.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I work on Saturday and Sunday, so I would have gotten stoned back in the old days for picking up sticks. So, and
Yeah,
not the good kind of getting stoned. Um,
I'm not going to
so let's
pick
see, we
any.
have,
I'm not going to pick any sticks today. I might
yeah,
pick a fight on Twitter, but that's completely different. I think that's allowed.
uh, we have DM artificially selected ceratopsian wing. We have Vadim, Jamie E, Smitty. Welcome, guys. Welcome back. Yes, it is Obama's all the way down,
Mm-hmm.
as DM correctly points out. Obama Boros. Yeah. That is a reference to and that was actually sent to me by my partner. And so um if you guys were present for the last video or the last time we were watching these guys, they repeat everything they say over and over and over and over and over
Yeah.
and over. Yeah, it was just uh like he kept saying, as I said above, as I said above, as I said above. But it didn't mean anything. He didn't respond to it the first time, and so all of his references, his self references also weren't responses. So yeah.
It's the first time I've seen a creationist refer to their own quotes as evidence for the claims that they've made. I mean, that's completely new. As we said before, and therefore it's true. Maybe that's why the
Yeah.
repeats, Jackson, because who was it that famously said, if you repeat a lie long enough and loud enough, oh, it was Hitler and Hovind, both starting with an H.
Well, I think it was Joseph Goebbels was the one who came up with it. Then Hitler, I think,
Oh, yeah.
appropriated it, and then yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Um,
Did I forget?
Obama's not real. He's just a metaphor for Tommy Tallarico.
Did I forget about Otangelo, Maya? Did Otangelo say that too? I mean, he
Oh, did
does.
he?
He does say a lot of crap, and he was here for the last one, very, very briefly until
Yeah.
Jackson gave him the boot.
Yep. I will not put up with his shenanigans. So yeah,
No.
anytime he shows up, he gets immediately booted.
Yeah.
He can stay if he doesn't make any sound, as
Oh,
in
oh
if I'm unaware that he's here.
I missed that. Did he really came in last time?
It
Yeah.
was for like 20 whole seconds. He left a
Yeah.
comment, and then I said goodbye.
Yeah.
Uh,
I did not notice that for some reason.
yeah. Um, yeah. He likes to
Oh
quote
yeah.
his own blog.
Yeah.
So Artangelo's blog is he just rips Wikipedia. That's all he does. And then if you ask him anything about it, he can't defend it because he doesn't know anything.
The funniest
Um,
thing, Jackson, and this is why he's mad with me, because I was on a fairly good level with him for a long time, and then he came up with uh, his go-to argument, abiogenesis, and he pointed out to a link on his blog where he cited a news article that we all came from mud, which then would uh, uh, verify the creation account of Eve, I
mhm,
think. So, what I did is, first of all, I read the article, which is about something happening about 3.8 billion years ago, which doesn't confirm his 6,000-year-old Earth. And then it also had a link to a scientific paper, which was about abiogenesis, which he said the news article disproved. And so I confronted him with that on a live show, and he got really, really mad. And guess what? He's never changed the page on his blog. It's still there. So,
Well, he's not the brightest, so there's that. Based Theory points out they stomped Otangelo in a debate so hard that
yeah.
Otangelo blocked them.
Well, you don't have
I did a debate. Was it on here or was it on a different channel?
I remember him on Dapper channel. Like he was, I forgot the paper, but like Dapper was asking him to defend a claim, and Otangelo cited the paper. But when they were looking at the paper, it doesn't say what he says. It says, and then
that's pretty
Big
much
shock.
every
So
single
much
paper
shock.
on his blog doesn't say what he says. It says on the blog.
Whose channel was I on when we had that?
I don't think you were on this one.
Oh,
At least,
Toon Show.
yeah, because I didn't produce that one because I would have had a ton of fun.
Yeah,
if I had been present for that
Toon
one.
Show.
And you don't have to stomp Otangelo that hard to get blocked. I mean,
but the funny thing about that debate was he basically agreed with everything I said. Like he just wouldn't. He didn't argue with anything. He presented his own stuff. He said his bit, and then when I came up and said my bit, and then we had like the cross examination or whatever it was, and I would ask him about all these things, and he would just go, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that sounds fine to me. And I was like,
Now,
okay.
Yeah, now I remember. Like I think the topic was like just creation and evolution, right? That was
like
the topic.
Mm.
And my preemptive issue with that is it is too broad.
Sure.
And you can like both parties can talk about completely different things and completely miss each other's point.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened. Like you were prepared about I think evolution, right? Or like what examples did you give during that debate?
I don't even remember. I do remember
Yeah.
that I showed him that picture Erica made where it's like got all the different skulls lined up, all the different
Right.
hominins, and I showed it to him, and I was like, can you draw a line? Can you show me where you think the evolution ends or whatever? And I remember that part. I remember because he was just like, "Oh, I don't know. I would have to ask Erica." And I was like, "Well, Erica made this graphic, so it's all of them." And he just kind of went, "Okay." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I guess."
So, and I also remember him talking about the nitrogen fixation or biological nitrogen fixation. Like he was asking, like, how did nitrogenase originate? And I made a review about that on the Peaceful Science forum. Like I covered some papers on the origins of nitrogenase. Sorry.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so I basically kind of did a sort of very short version of the the PowerPoint that Dapper and I did that we discussed like how we did a 3-part like series or whatever on the evidence for evolution. We went over that PowerPoint. I kind of made like a short version of that, I guess, and that's what we went over. I guess I used that.
I have to say, there's one good thing that came out of Otangelo, because Otangelo was the first one where it dawned on me that if I ask him about evidence for creation, creationists tend to get really, really mad and tell you, I don't have to have that because it's in the Bible. Well, yes, but you need evidence to go to see whether or not the Bible is correct, right? And Otangelo got really mad about that. And so from that moment on, depending on the creationist I talk to, I no longer try to teach them anything. I want to know their position. And guess what? They either rage quit or are completely stumped by the questions. And I think it's a better way to deal with people like Otangelo because you can talk to
Yeah.
them, but it's like talking to a wall. It doesn't go anywhere. Instead,
Well, I mean,
even
yeah.
and even if you have other creationists watching, they will see him stuttering when you ask him for evidence for his position because he doesn't have any. And they might start thinking, well, okay, I'm listening to this guy, but he can't explain his position. And same thing goes for
Yeah.
Hovind. He will deflect and defend and jump all over the place. You ask him to defend his own position, not going to happen.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the talk that Dapper and I had with Robert a few weeks ago kind of went like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw it in Nestling, but we spent the first 10 minutes just getting him to acknowledge that macroevolution is true, to which he did. We
Yeah.
gave him an example that met his criterion for macroevolution, to which he went, hold on, wait, I want to change my mind.
Yeah, no, I want to change my mind. So
it was it was so
did
funny.
he
We walked him
did he
like,
define it? Did he define it himself?
well,
Just like, oh, yeah.
So I explained to him what the definition of macroevolution is and why it's been that way for 100 years, and he was like, "Oh, okay, all right, I understand this. Well, okay, show me an example of that." And I went, "I'm glad you asked. Here's an example." And he, like, you can see him pause,
mm-hmm.
and the cogs are turning, and he's like, "Oh no, I've made a mistake."
I had
It was
I
very
had him
funny.
on my channel the week after that.
Mhm.
And while I was talking to him, I got more and more frustrated because he had been uh, making stupid claims about you, about the show that he did with you and Dapper. He had been
Mhm.
trashing on Raw and blocking everyone after he trashed them. So at some point, I just
Yeah.
told him, I can't help you. If you want to remain stupid, that's fine with me. And I didn't notice at the time, but one of the people that follow me on Twitter did, and they clipped it. You saw his eyes bulge, literally, right before he rage quit. So
Yeah.
that was funny.
I
And this
Oh,
guy's
hey, we
now
got Zach in the
posting
chat.
posting those few seconds of me telling him that he wants to remain stupid with him on screen on Twitter. I think he's posted it like
Well,
20 times, and he
so
doesn't get blocked. I'm blocked, but he doesn't.
so well, I also haven't been blocked by Robert, but I muted him because he came back with some other guy who was just a piece of garbage, and he was saying, oh shoot, what did he say? It was like, oh, all atheists are fat slobs or something like that.
Yeah,
And I was like, nope, this guy's blocked. I
yeah.
have no interest in interacting with him. And then Robert was defending him. He was like, oh, he's not saying all atheists are fat slobs. He's just saying on average atheist. And I went, nope, okay, you're muted. Goodbye. I'm
Yeah,
done with you.
yeah.
And so I was like, nope, I'm not dealing with this crap.
It's
Anyone
actually
who
a fun. It's
I
actually a funny thing because the statistics I've seen, it's the opposite really. Like
I
the
don't even care
average. Yeah,
personally. I
yeah.
genuinely don't
Me
even
neither.
care
Me
if
neither.
it's
So
true or not.
yeah.
It could be true. No idea. I'm not looking it up. I don't care. The fact that, like, I went through this guy's post and like 4 or 5 posts in, it's atheists or fat slobs. I was like, no, he's not worth my time. I'm not going to interact with him or boost his messages. So I was just
I
like, nope, nope, he's blocked.
I did make
So,
so before I got blocked, I did make a video about him. I have a video on my channel which is Jesus Christ the Musical. And as
mhm.
Robbie is an air drummer, I
Yeah, you
basically,
showed it to us.
yeah, I cut him out and had him air drumming and then completely stumped when Jesus was hit by a bus. And that was fun. So that got me blocked.
Well, anyways, all right. Um, so we're continuing with Christianity 101, which is kind of an odd name for this channel because the very few of the videos are actually about Christianity. So, um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
It's
that's pretty much
comes back
entirely like
come back to what I said before, Jackson. If you can't provide evidence for your position, try and trash anyone else's position. That deflects people from the fact that you have
right.
literally nothing. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's kind of like an AI voice reading the text. It's text to voice, and like the picture on the front is like an AI woman. So we don't know anything about like the actual person who makes these videos, other than that they don't know how to write, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because
They they do know how to copy paste. Control C,
they sure
Control
do.
V is one of their skills,
Yeah.
which is good.
And like everything that every single argument they had was just like a quote mine.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't any actual like studies, no articles. It's all just like, oh, somebody said in a newspaper this. Okay, whatever, cool. Um, or when he talked about like the extended synthesis crowd, um, and they also like he was just
Oh,
quote mining them, so it was all
that might
boring.
be a good thing. Vadim Slumovsky Rachenko says, "I bet the text is AI generated." That could be with a very very bad AI generator.
Wait. Oh.
That could be.
Oh, I did not know that was base theory. Okay. My bad. I didn't know that was you. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, you're right, Vadim. That could be true. That would also explain why the writing is so terrible. Oh, look. Robert has made an appearance.
Yeah,
Okay, listen. We're not debunking Christianity.
no,
That's not what we're doing.
it's
The
the
title of
channel
the
name,
channel
Robbie.
is
It's the channel
Christianity
name.
101. And as I just said, most of the videos are not even about Christianity. They're just about evolution or
Yeah.
about attacking evolution.
You
So
know
no,
what's
we're not debunking Christianity because we're not interested in debunking Christianity on this channel. That's
no?
not what we're doing.
You know what's
So
sad? If Robbie had an actual drum kit, we could have him in here every time there's a pun. He could do the ba-dum, tsh. Sorry, I had to. Sorry.
yeah,
I'm bad.
he could do it from the side chat, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, we ready? I think we're about 20 minutes in. So
I'm ready. So let's do this.
all right, well let's get back into it.
Yep.
Scientific literature versus evolution. 3. Scientist quote.
Okay.
Something essential is missing in the theory of biological evolution. Neo-Darwinism. Dr. Brown and Dr. Hollander. Quote,
Oh, this is the same
to
article
explain
from
the
earlier.
origin of life, survival of the fittest is entirely a feat. As a scientific explanation for the mechanisms of evolution of life, it is trite. In this video, we provide additional
How
quotes
so?
and discuss concepts from the following scientific paper. Neo-Darwinism must mutate to survive.
Okay, pause.
Olin Brown, David Hollander.
Pause. Okay, so this paper, again, we talked about it last time. I think like neither of these guys are biologists, if I remember correctly. Zach, can you refresh my memory? But I don't think either of them are biologists. Yeah, okay, yeah, a medical doctor and an engineer. Right. So yeah, so they're not biologists. They're not doing research in the field. Um, yeah, progress in biophysics and molecular biology. This is some like minor journal. It might even be pay to play. I'm not sure. Um, Basically, it's full of like creationist nonsense. It didn't it didn't get any traction in any other journals. It's just creationist nonsense, basically. So I mean, it's whatever. All right, we can keep going.
Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology, 172, 2022, pages 24 to 38. Evolution believers believe that naturalistic mega-evolution has been proved to be true, and that microevolution plus time gives us mega-evolution.
Oh,
However,
pause.
there are many scientific...
Pause. Okay, so that's another thing about this. Okay, Zach says the journal's run by Dennis Noble, who's the leader of the third wave of evolution. Okay, Yeah. Okay. So this person, whoever it is, they refer to mega evolution, which we have no idea what that is. Like they said last time that like they mentioned macroevolution separately, and then they also say it's mega evolution, but also they implied that like speciation wasn't possible. It was is crazy. I don't remember all of it. It was like very contradictory last time. We were trying to figure out if macroevolution and mega evolution are the same thing or if they're different. It was very weird. So, maybe we'll we'll talk about that again this time, I guess. Okay, we can keep going.
Papers that show that that is not the case. We have discussed several of these in our previous videos.
No,
Every one
they
of our key
haven't. It
conclusions.
was the same paper. They quoted the same paper in multiple videos. It's not multiple papers. It's just one. And they're not even quoting from the paper. They're quoting from a press release about the paper. So, yeah, what is mega evolution? We have no idea. We do not know. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we can keep going.
In our various videos about the falsification of neo-Darwinism for mega evolution is now being presented by scientists and
See, what
discussed in
even
the
is mega
scientific literature.
evolution?
Note, we provide quotes from scientists who, as far as we know, do believe in evolution. However, their research confirms that the core tenets of neo-Darwinism have been falsified
Pause.
for any level above
Pause. Okay. Okay, again. So macro evolution is genetic change at or above the level of species. So speciation is encompassed within macroevolution. So according to this, according to this, it says any level above adaptation of a species within a genus or family. Okay. The separation of species of like one species from another is macroevolution. So the differentiation of species within a genus and especially within a family also necessarily constitute macroevolution, or as they're calling it in this video, mega evolution. It's very odd. Zach's right. What are the core tenets of neo-Darwinism? This video is not going to tell us. I guarantee they do not. They don't care. They don't know. All right, we can keep going.
adaptation of a species within a genus or family. This means that random chance and natural selection cannot create the entire biosphere, and
No
neither
one's
can
saying
any
it
of the
can.
mechanisms in the modern synthesis or the extended synthesis. So, naturalistic mega-evolution is false. It is a car with no engine and no wheels. Quote,
Okay,
quoting Darwin,
wait, pause.
if it could
Pause. Okay, so they have said this exact set of sentences in like all three of the, or I guess the other two videos that we watched. These are the like exact same quotes.
Yeah.
Um,
Although we have a new quote mine coming up in a minute.
I guess that's true. Okay, all right, we
Yeah.
can watch this one.
Continue.
Peter.
I think
be
I
demonstrated
think
that
Peter
any
is
complex
Peter's
organ
busy.
existed, which
like,
could not possibly have been formed by numerous, successive, slight
Oh,
modifications.
here we go.
My
Okay,
theory will
pause.
absolutely break down.
Oh,
Okay, this
I did not
classic
expect
quote.
they would have. Yeah, although most often they don't include the last sentence, but here they include the last sentence. So I guess
Yeah,
good
it
job.
kind of
Yeah,
defeats
good
the whole
job.
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they and Frank Turek quotes this every so often. But yeah, they always leave out, but I can find no such case. Because if you include that, it takes the force out of the preceding sentence. Right? Like it it's so stupid. So stupid. Um Also, when it said earlier that like random mutation and natural selection created the entire biosphere, no, that's not.
Hmm.
Evolution doesn't propose that. First of all, that's just not a thing that evolution says. So that is a mechanism. Natural selection is a mechanism for spreading variations through a population. That's certainly true, but it's not the only one, and no one's proposing it is. So, you know. Anyway, we can keep going.
But I can find out no such case. Darwin. Quote, today, Darwin's missing cases are abundant, including each complex transition to a new body type, metabolic cycle, or metabolic chain. Multi-step processes are routinely required at every evolutionary step. Quote, biology remains essentially descriptive. Quote, Henry Heng, 2009,
What?
pointed out that modern biology has been heavily influenced by the gene-centric concept, but that this concept is challenged by gene-based research. Quote,
What?
in the light of illusions of the modern synthesis, MS's key concept, that gradual accumulation of gene mutations within microevolution leads to macroevolution, requires re-examination. Stasis,
Well, okay,
as the
pause.
most prominent pattern of the deep...
Pause. Okay. The key concept of the modern synthesis is that gradual accumulation of mutations within microevolution leads to macroevolution? What does that even mean? That's not even a sentence. Microevolution is not a process, it's a description of a set of processes. Stasis is the most prominent pattern of the deep history of life. Yeah, we've heard this before. As of karyotype preservation via sex.
That's not that's not stasis, or at least not how like Stephen Jay Gould and Niall Eldridge defined stasis
Yeah.
or described stasis.
Yeah, I don't even know if this is like what is even happening here. Are these even are these even
These
sentences?
just garbled. These are just garbled sentences, and they aren't really clear about anything. Like, of course, they're now basically making the irreducible complexity argument, right? So but they don't bring up. Oh, maybe they will bring up any examples, but so far, no, not even an example is given.
Yeah. I don't know. This is bizarre. Okay.
I bet the like something very basic like ATP synthase or the flagella probably if they are going to bring, assuming they will bring up an example, I expect something like that to be brought up. But yeah, and we can continue.
history of life remains a puzzle to the MS, but can be explained by the mechanism of karyotype preservation via sex. Quote, modern synthesis, many recent developments, pose deep challenges, even contradictions, to the traditional model. Quote,
What?
the author, Dr. Corning,
What?
then summarized the case against the modern synthesis and its many amendments. Quote, we affirm that science advances when theories are challenged by honestly expressed doubt. Quote,
Okay.
in science, doubting is mostly good. It calls for more evidence. Quote, natural selection is inadequate for macroevolution, megaevolution, which requires multiple incremental changes that, individually, are not functionally more advanced.
Okay, so we talked about this last time. That's literally the opposite of what natural selection states, right? So natural selection involves differential reproductive success in a population due to the variations having it affects the fitness. Variations affect the fitness of individuals differently, and so natural selection is going to select for the positive mutants. It's going to select against the harmful mutants, and then the neutral ones are subject to drift, right? So they are incrementally like more beneficial than the previous variations. That's literally what natural selection selects. So to say that incremental changes are not like functionally more beneficial, do what?
Well, I believe they are here. They are saying that there are some things that require incremental changes, and each of some of these changes are not more like it's basically by Michael Behe's argument for irreducible complexity. Like some steps required for an irreducible system to evolve an irreducible system is not more functional. But of course, there are other mechanisms besides selection. Like you have, again, as you mentioned, you have drift, which can contribute to what's called constructive neutral evolution.
Yeah. So yeah, again, it just none of it makes any sense. I really am starting to think that the AI wrote these sentences because it's just nonsensical. Okay.
Dr. Brown and Dr. Hollander, my comment. This is consistent with what we have stated in several of our videos. Random chance and natural selection do work for microevolution, adaptation of species inside a genus or family. However, they do not have the ability to create higher taxa, kingdom, phylum, class, order, from lower
Okay, but
species.
those things,
So they
the
do
genus
not
and
work for mega-evolution,
family are
single-cell to human
macroevolution.
evolution. Quote,
And now we have a different
something essential
definition.
We're-
They keep changing the definition.
Yeah, we're back to my quote was I quote, and therefore I quote, and my quote was so I was right because my quote was my quote was my quote.
Correct. Absolutely.
About the like we also addressed this in our video. Do dogs produce non-dogs regarding like we have like according to the Linnaean system we have like family, order, class, and phylum. But these categories don't make a lot of sense when you like go back in time during the fossil record because every single group, even a phylum, started out with one single ancestral species, basically. And then after repeated speciation events, you might have a group of species within a genus. And then when you repeat the same process for each of those species, then you have multiple genera within a family, arbitrarily speaking, because what divides a genus or a family is just arbitrary. The ranks are not defined, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if the AI wrote the script, there's one thing we can conclude. The AI is still more intelligent than Robert Groen. Sorry.
I don't know.
This is also there's also something. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What'd you say?
Like sorry about the interruption, but as I mentioned about when you repeat the same process, like first you have like multiple species within a genus, and then if you repeat the process again for each of those species, then you're gonna have multiple genera within the family. And I believe there are many examples where if you go back or if you trace lineages, which today look very different. Like today they are we say they are from different families, but if you trace them backwards, then you see that the older species related to both look very similar to each other, and you can see that there are multiple examples of it. Like one famous example is like you have elephants and manatees. So today, elephants and manatees don't look like each other very much. Like one is aquatic and one is terrestrial. But if you look at the early relatives of both, they look very similar. And if you just had the early manatees and the early proboscideans, then you might say, they belong in the same family even, because they are very similar. But of course, today we say they are distinct enough. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption.
No, you're right.
Darwinism,
You're good.
quote, evolution of a few flowers on a hillside is reasonably explained by mutation and selection. It stretches logic to explain the millions of extremely diverse species seen currently and in the fossil record. It is difficult to conceptualize an insect that is novel or more unbelievable than one that exists. Quote, to explain the origin of life, survival of the fittest is entirely a feat. As a scientific explanation for the mechanisms of evolution of life...
Wait, pause. I don't think anyone's trying to explain the origin of life via natural selection. That's not what's happening there. It's just nonsense. I'm okay. Whatever.
It is trite.
Just weird.
Summary. These quotations from the scientific paper, listed above, are consistent with what we have said in several videos. Neo-Darwinism,
because it's the same
random
paper
chance
quoted
and natural
repeatedly.
selection, has been falsified for anything more than microevolution, adaptation of a species within a genus or family. This means that random chance and natural selection cannot create the entire biosphere, and neither
Wow.
can any of the mechanisms
You
in the
don't
modern
say.
synthesis or the extended synthesis. So, naturalistic mega-evolution is false. It is a car with no engine and no wheels. Thanks to Dr.
As
von
we said,
Manscha for
it's
bringing this
consistent
paper to
with
our
our
attention.
earlier.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Peter, I saw that.
Did you see my toy?
I did see it. I liked it.
A
It was very
car,
nice.
a car with no engine and no wheels. It's there. He goes.
That's pretty funny. I like that.
I have to thank Robert Hoon for the car because it's his car.
Okay, that's pretty funny. All right. We ready for the next one?
I am.
No.
Nestle said we're done for tonight, actually.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time. No.
Nestle, what? I mean, let's just have a sneak peek.
Is it still the same channel, or
Yes.
is it
Okay.
Yes.
So
how many do we still have for
We-
this
oh, we're
we
gonna have
have-
enough for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes left in this one, and then another 11 minutes in the next one. So
So
We have enough.
Nestle, I saw one that was it was like evolutionary predictions, and that one kind of caught my interest. So I really want to see
Alright.
what they. I don't. Well, I'm willing to bet either. It's either going to be they're going to say like the evolutionists predict that there should be infinite number of fossils or transitional fossils, and we don't have any transitional fossils. It's either going to be that, or like or like I don't know. They're going to say like all the predictions of evolution are wrong, or something like that.
Basically moving the goalpost. First it was like, there are no transitional fossils, and then now there are enough. And
Right.
how many are required? Well, it's
More than that.
more than
However
that.
many
More than you have.
it's going to be more.
More than you have. Always more than you have. Yeah.
Oh, that's not enough. Sorry.
and now we have
All right,
we have a fight in the chat, and I'm going to add to the fight in the chat. So is a part of a tree trunk a wheel? I don't think so. Maybe if you cut it down really narrow, but not if it's a few feet long. Not a wheel. So no wheels on the Flintstones car. I'll keep defending my position on that. There are no wheels on that car. Just saying. Okay. Shall we continue the education?
Yes. Mhm.
Sure.
The miseducation.
Yes. Please like and subscribe. That's the
Failed
only thing they
predictions
get
of
right.
naturalistic evolution. Evolutionary
All right.
biology has a long history of failed predictions. Some evolution
Does it?
believers claim that evolution is consensus biology, and so we should not
That's
challenge
true.
it. However, the reality
That's
is
not
that
true.
evolutionary biology
That's weird. The fact that they claim it is because it is.
I mean, the evolution is objectively consensus. Now, does that mean
Yeah.
you can't challenge it? No, obviously not. But
Oh.
but it's true. She was like, "Oh, they say that it's consensus." Well,
Yeah.
it is. You can do a poll on it. That's easy
Yeah.
to figure out.
Also, someone in the live chat, Vadim, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Vadim says, "Do you have the clip of Dr. Banjo from Futurama?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should use that in
Yeah.
debates. I honestly don't hear that argument as much anymore. Well, by providing me 2 transitional fossils, you just made 2 more gaps. Like, I really don't see that much anymore. I really don't see creationists arguing that much about.
They are making sometimes they make a subtle version of that when they complain about like gaps that remain, or
Well,
Or they will
sure.
complain about, or they will again. We bring up this guy every single time. LSS. He complains about ghost lineages and
Right.
while ignoring the gaps that we have filled, because those are the evidence.
Well,
And he
because
ignores
Stephen
that.
Meyer did that in
Yeah.
Darwin's Doubt, which was wild to see. I mean, because you think of Meyer as like, or he holds himself in such high esteem. I mean, because they all do. They're all full of hot air. But he's like, yeah, I'm a very. He even posted like just today or yesterday talking about how serious the intelligent design proponents are, and how unserious all the people who are critical of of intelligent design are. How unserious they are. And because they hate Dave Farina. It's so funny how much they hate him. Um, and but Meyer uses like just normal creationist tier arguments. He uses the Dr. Banjo argument because when he says in Darwin's Doubt, where are the the like proto arthropods, and you say, well, here's Anomalocaris, here's Opabinia, here's Morella, and or actually no, I think Morella's a crown now. Or here's Carrigmacella. So you can show them a whole bunch of different stem arthropods. We have loads and loads and loads of them. But he then looks at that and says, well, now you have a gap between, the common ancestor of modern arthropods and, Anomalocaris, and that, common ancestor and Anomalocaris. And it's like, come on, you can't, you can't like disregard everything we give you as, oh, well, now you just have another gap. Or Fushi and Hoya is another
Debunking
one.
evolution, whale stories. A just so story.
Uh-oh.
Once
We went
upon
back to
a
the
time,
beginning.
a deer decided to go for a swim, and so it.
Oh, did we went back? Or
It's back at the beginning because that was the first video.
Yes, this was my bad. I have no clue what happened there.
oh,
I can keep talking while you find it again. Yeah, Professor Dave. Yeah, so as we mentioned before, I co-wrote a few of his videos. So we did Stephen Meyer, Gunter Beckley. I think there were 2 on Gunter Beckley,
yes,
and
I
then
think so, yeah.
and then Jonathan Wells. And so we co-wrote those, and I really enjoyed doing it. I thought they were a lot of fun.
Doesn't Meyer also say like, oh, Anomalocaris, it's just an arthropod?
It's just
like,
an arthropod. Yes.
Yeah, it's not transitional enough, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and what he doesn't do in his book is he does not explain what are the features that Anomalocaris have, what are the features that all crown arthropods have, right? He just doesn't do that. There's no, and Darwin's Doubt's a pretty big book. It's pretty hefty. If he wanted to talk about the morphological differences between stem and crown arthropods, he could have. He just chose not to.
Oh,
did not
could he
want
have?
to do it.
Because he's a philosopher. He's not like he's not into anatomy or.
Well, I mean, the whole
right?
book's about the evolution of organisms in the Cambrian. He wrote, as a philosopher, a book about paleontology and a book about cell biology with Signature in the Cell. And like, he writes these books about biology, but he has no background in biology. He has no background in paleontology. They're all like fluff pieces. They're really thick fluff pieces, but they're fluff pieces nonetheless.
So a lot of fluff.
It is a lot of fluff. Yeah, it's like the State Puff Marshmallow Man. Okay. Anyway, all right, we can continue.
This later in this video. So there is no need for any rational person to accept naturalistic mega-evolution just because many, but not all biologists believe in it. Item 1. Naturalistic mega-evolution, the claim of single-cell to human evolution by random chance and natural selection, has had a long history of world-class scientists who have been skeptical of it.
That's not a prediction.
It is completely valid for us to join such world-class scientists in being skeptical of naturalistic mega-evolution. Item 2.
Oh, is this going to be no
naturalistic
microbes in the lab evolved to be human or something like that?
I would not be surprised.
Oh, they are already on item 2. Like, what was the failed prediction in item 1?
There wasn't one. It literally just said failed predictions of evolution.
Yeah, it was
item 1. There are scientists who don't believe in evolution.
No. They were skeptic of evolution, which is basically the definition
Right.
of a scientist. You need to be skeptic, because otherwise you're not doing science. You can't do science if you're not skeptic.
I mean, that's true.
So that's not a failed prediction. That is something that is necessary to do science. Also, they might be skeptic, but they come to a different conclusion than you do. So if you're going to side with them, at least side with them. Anyway.
Mega-evolution. The evidence confirms microevolution, adaptation of a species inside a genus or family.
Not a prediction.
But the evidence falsifies naturalistic mega-evolution, the claim of single-cell to human evolution. Item 3. Math shows that there is not enough time in the entire 4.5 billion year history of the Earth for random chance.
Yeah, math doesn't show that.
It's basically a student who is trying to reach the minimum word count on his essay.
Yeah,
right.
It is, yes. Okay, wait, hold on a second. This math shows that they're referring to the waiting time problem. To create all the nucleotide changes needed to create all of the taxa-specific orphan genes. Okay, so remember, as we've talked about before, there are orphan genes within within species, right? There can be orphan genes that are specific to subspecies within a species, as we talked about with rice. So you would have to say that it's not possible for certain populations within a species to be related to each other. That's the argument you have to make, which, I mean, okay, good luck with that, I guess. Erica and I did make the argument to this creationist when I was on Skep Talk. Was that earlier this week? Yeah, it was on Monday. I don't know. Every day just kind of runs together. We were on Skep Talk Monday, and this creationist called in, and he was doing the same thing Robert did when we had our talk with him a few weeks ago. He was special pleading, basically. It's, oh, yes, I accept these things can be related. That's fine. But humans and chimps? No. They can't be related. And so I flipped the tables on him. I said, okay, you argue that humans and chimps cannot be related because no one's ever seen a chimp give birth to a human or vice versa. And he said, yeah. So which I said, okay, I have never witnessed an American giving birth to a Tasmanian. Therefore, Tasmanians and Americans don't share a common ancestor. And he went, well, no. Well, they're both humans. And I said, so we're both apes. And he got very frustrated with that line of argumentation, because he was like, but we're both, we're both humans. And Erica would say well, we're apes too. I mean, we have all the literally every single characteristic that chimps have. And
that makes us apes. Of
right,
course, we don't have every single. Yeah, of course. And there are unique things for the both, but regarding what makes an ape, we have all the characteristics. Yes.
And so we pointed out, you've never seen, we don't have records of every person going back to our common ancestor with Tasmanians. So we have to make inferences, don't we? Either we can make inferences about our common ancestor with Tasmanians, or we can't. And he was like, yeah, okay, well, we can do it for them. Oh, so, and it was just on and on. So yeah, he was very frustrated with that line of argumentation. It was very funny. But I really liked it. And I think that's an argument I'm going to use more often, which is simply that, you have to use inference to connect all humans, right? If you think you can't, well, you're just wrong. So anyway.
Also, one thing I also want to note about this comment that he shows here is I've been reading recently the book "What's in Your Genome" by
Oh,
Moran.
Moran. Yeah.
Yes. And one point he makes is that like the orphan genes, a lot of them, like basically we detect them by as open reading frames, and it should be noted that the difference between an open reading frame that we can detect in our like uh, computational methods and just a random sequence is not a large difference. So we do expect to find like random open reading frames, especially in a genome that is like 3 billion base pairs long. We just expect to see a lot of random open reading frames, and perhaps a lot of these orphan genes are just random open reading frames that won't do anything. Of course, we do have, like as you mentioned before, we also have the example in Rise, where you can see the step-by-step establishment of a new true open reading frame that becomes a bona fide gene. I can link the paper again in the live
Yeah, absolutely.
for those who are interested. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, we can keep going.
To create all of the nucleotide changes needed to create all of the taxa-specific orphan genes in the biosphere. Item 4. Math shows that there is not
That was
enough
not a
time
prediction.
in the entire 4.5 billion year history of the Earth for natural selection to substitute all of the nucleotide changes in the animal populations for
This
all
is
of the
this is the same thing.
There-
They're just saying the same thing.
Yes. So now we're
This is the substitution is the establishment of a mutation, or is like the fixation of a population, or sorry, the fixation of a mutation within a population. They just said the same thing twice. That's items 3 and 4 are the same thing. Cool. Okay.
specific orphan genes in the biosphere.
Neither of which are predictions.
Item 5. Alleged consensus biology has a long history of being wrong. So, it is completely
Okay.
valid for any intelligent person to be
You
skeptical
gonna
of
mention
claims
an
that
example?
consensus biology has proved naturalistic mega-evolution to be true. Biology. Here's a list of claims that biology has been wrong on. 1.
Okay.
Ineffectiveness of hand washing in medicine. 2. Miasma theory
Wait,
of disease.
what?
3.
Wait, pause.
What? Ineffectiveness of hand washing in medicine? When did biology?
Science never claimed that hand washing is ineffective. What are you talking about?
Oh,
You can find like hand washing procedures going back like thousands of years. What do you mean?
yeah.
Huh?
As
My
on Raw
asthma
states,
theory-
even raccoons have figured this out.
Right. Yeah. What? That's crazy.
What does he say before these
Oh, it
1,
says
2,
these are
3?
things biology has been wrong about.
Yeah.
Oh, like, that would be true then. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun
right.
fact. You know who claimed that hand washing wasn't effective? It was Jesus.
Who? Did he?
I'm not kidding.
Well, at any rate, biology never claimed that hand washing was ineffective. I'm not aware of. I mean, even cultures before, like thousands of years ago, have had hand washing techniques. Like, this is just nonsense. Miasma theory of disease. I don't think the concept of the miasma ever reached the point of being a theory, because there was no like hypothesis testing that resulted in it being elevated to theory. For bodily humors, again, no, there's no theory testing. Static proteins, I don't know what that means.
There's only one bodily humor. That's a fart joke. Sorry.
Thank you.
I think he's making the argument like, oh, biologists have been wrong about these things, so perhaps we also wrong about the other thing. Like, I don't know about.
I mean,
that.
I don't. Maybe, but like, these are not biological theories, right? These were never elevated to the status of theory. They were ideas that were held. I'll give you an example. Give you an example of a different one. Okay, an idea that was held for a long time was that if you eat spicy or relatively acidic food, you will get You'll get stomach ulcers. Now this was thought even some doctor, or even a lot of doctors thought this. And they were like, okay, well, don't um, uh, uh, don't eat spicy or acidic foods if you're having stomach ulcers because that's what's causing it. Turns out no, that wasn't what was causing it. These people had bacterial infections that was causing the disease, because what the researchers did, and actually won the Nobel Prize for this a few years later, was they took tissue samples from all these people who had stomach ulcers, and they found the same species of bacterium in all the different stomach ulcers and all these different people. And so, what one of the researchers did was he actually ingested a sample of those bacteria, and he got stomach ulcers. I'm sure Jamie E, if you're in there, maybe you can put who that was, because I don't remember. I don't remember what the name of those guys was or were. But like, it's not. These ideas were not science. There was no hypothesis testing going on that led to them becoming elevated to theory. So this is just silliness. Yeah. So I don't know what static proteins mean. I don't know what it's a reference to. Phrenology. Phrenology, another one, is like some people like the idea of phrenology. Looking at like the shape of the skull and the nose and all that to figure out if you're gonna grow up to be a criminal or whatever. But again, there's no scientific backing for it. No hypothesis testing is going on. Um, Homunculus theory. Homunculus. Do either of you know what the homunculus theory
I
is?
think it's referring to like they believe that in the sperm cell there was like a miniature human
Oh,
being prefigured before it
pangenesis, isn't it?
developed. No, that's not the same thing. No, it's like if you look up a homunculus, you can see these tiny little people inside the sperm cell, and basically they believe that the human body was already preformed in the sperm cell, and the egg of the female was just to
Okay,
provide
what am?
nutrients. It didn't contribute
Or
anything
sorry, I was
to.
thinking of the wrong term.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, what was that called? What was it called? Where homunculus is not the only name it was known by. It was known by another name. Preformation. There we go. That was it. Yes. Yeah, preformation. That was the
Yeah, preformationism. Yes, there's also another name for that. Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, homunculus is just a description. Yeah, thank you, RJ. Um Homunculus is also like, it is a way of like describing the relationships, because like you can use the concept of the homunculus to describe, for instance, like how or what parts of our body, our brain, like assigns the most tasks to, the most brain power to, like for instance our
Hmm.
lips. A lot of brain power is used on our lips,
Yeah.
and also our hands and our feet. um we there was a platypus homunculus that we looked at in the platypus's tail, because they use most of their brain power on their bill, which makes sense. It's full of electroreceptors. So
just all bill and no body.
right, right, yeah. This is the platypus brain is just all bill. Yep. All right, we can keep going.
4 bodily humors. Theory of disease. 4 static proteins. 5 phrenology. 6 homunculus theory. 7 bad air as the cause of malaria. 8 telegony in inheritance. 9
I don't even know what that
oscillatory
is.
blood circulation. 10 preformation in embryology.
Oh, there's
11
preformation.
bloodletting as medical
Uh-huh.
treatment. Evolutionary biology. Here's a list of claims that evolutionary biology has been wrong on. 1
Okay.
spontaneous generation of life from organic matter.
Nope.
2
Eh.
Piltdown man. Fraud made from a
Nope.
human skull with
Wrong.
orangutan jawbone.
Pass,
Piltdown
pass,
man
pass,
was
pass,
viewed as a
pass.
missing link between human.
Go ahead, Nissan.
Yeah, for the first one. Like I forgot the philosopher who claimed spontaneous generation, or the guy.
I mean, a lot of people claimed it
Yeah,
over
but
years.
there was like one guy who put like his.
Are you talking about Pouchet?
I think so.
Felix
Like
Pouchet?
he put his pants in like a jar of wheat, and then he saw like mice appearing in the jar with wheat, or so, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
But yeah.
Felix Pouchet was one of the main proponents of
Mhm.
spontaneous generation. This might have been the guy who did it. Let me see if I can find it. Although technically, Pouchet did not believe in spontaneous generation. Uh, so there was this. So spontaneous generation and what Pouchet believed in were technically different. He believed in this idea called heterogenesis. So spontaneous generation said that whole organisms are created from like rotting or decaying things or biological material. So for instance, like yeah, if you have like, dirty socks, then mice would form from the dirty socks, or weevils would form from flour, or flies would form from rotting meat, whatever. So there was that. So that idea kind of fell out of favor, and a new similar idea um, was really more touted by Pouchet, which was called heterogenesis. And so heterogenesis it doesn't state that fully formed like adult organisms come out of decaying material. It states instead that undifferentiated eggs are formed from decaying material, which then can become different organisms. It's still
Jackson,
crazy and absolutely
Yeah.
wrong, but there is
It's
technically a difference.
Jackson,
it references the belief in vitalism, that like
Yes.
organisms are like this vital force, and when
Right.
organisms die, this vital force basically turned stuff in the surroundings into living things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you say,
my
Peter?
my mind works in mysterious ways. So we now have this, and then just before this, we had the pre-formation,
Mm-hmm.
and we've never seen humans come from dirty socks, have we? Sorry.
No, I think
You
dirty socks
mentioned
are
the
usually.
dirty socks. It's your fault. I'm going to blame you for this one. I just had
Okay.
that vision. Getting up in the morning and all these tiny humans running around in your bedroom.
Oh, hate that. Anyways, um, Piltdown Man, because it probably bears repeating if Robert's still
Yeah.
here. He might not be. Um,
No, he
the
ran away.
vast majority of the anthropological community never accepted Piltdown Man. They never accepted Nebraska Man. Even fewer people accepted Nebraska Man, like almost nobody. It was
Mhm.
really just Osborne, and even Osborne was like, be
Oopsie.
careful. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
like, it could be a primate, but like, be cautious. But Piltdown Man, on the other hand, it was basically the British um, were the proponents of it, because we needed a good old
Yeah.
stand up British human fossil or human ancestor, and that fit in their kind of preformed conclusions about how
Mhm.
human evolution should be. But they were upset by the fact that all the human fossils were coming out of Africa and Asia. Like, you had Homo
And there
erectus
was
in
there
Asia.
were also like there's also impressive findings in Germany, right, with the Neanderthals, and also
Right.
the cave art in France. And
Right.
there was pretty like there was, of course, there was like Neolithic objects in Britain, like
Mhm.
Stonehenge, of course, but nothing as ancient as like the Neanderthals and such, or
Right.
even older. No, nothing like that. Because
Right.
I believe that during the time the British Isles was pretty much like covered in ice or
Mhm.
something similar. Yeah, something similar. Like, were there like humans like Neanderthals in the British Isles? I don't know about that.
I don't know. I'm not aware of that. I figured they were
Yeah,
mostly more, like,
yeah,
continental Europe is what I
yeah.
thought. I could be wrong. I mean, I haven't read an immense amount of stuff on Neanderthals, so I could be wrong. But
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't come to the end of the list yet, but I'm going to call it anyway. None of these listed so far have been debunked by a creationist. Not a single one.
Well, that's true. I'm sure they're going to mention Nebraska Man. They're going to mention Archaeoraptor.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Mhm.
they're going to mention almost certainly Heckle's embryos. You know, we have to go through the whole list because, of course, we do.
Basically, TLDR, watch our video on evolutionary frauds.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yes. Yeah.
and apes. 3. Nebraska man,
There it
actually a
is.
pigtooth, claimed to be a human ancestor.
Uh-oh,
4.
pause.
Peking man claimed to be
Oh, actually. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Okay, so again, Nebraska Man. Yeah, it was never claimed to be a human ancestor by the broader scientific community. And again, Osborne, the guy who described it, was like, be cautious.
Like,
And
also, I don't like, if I remember correctly, even Osborne did not claim it was a human ancestor. He
correct.
just said it just said it was a primate, perhaps a primate or an ape. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I think you're right about that because he was very
Yeah.
cautious in his writings on it. He was not sure. It was a local newspaper that ran with the story, much the same way that National Geographic ran with the Archaeoraptor fraud,
Mhm.
even though it was pointed out to them by every paleontologist they interviewed that it was a
Yeah.
fraud. Every single one of them.
A guy called Zirkus.
Mhm.
How's his first name again?
Was
Zirk.
it like Steven Zirkus? I think.
I think yeah, Steven Zirkus. He purchased. I forgot the like a
It was like
ridiculous amount.
$80,000.
Yeah, a ridiculous amount of money. He bought it off from somebody, and and he brought that specimen with him to various paleontologists, and every single one of them told him, it doesn't look very good to me. Yeah, and still he refused to accept it, of course, because he has bought something for $80,000, and everybody is saying to him like it's a forgery of at least two different things.
Right,
Yeah.
both of which are cool in their own right. I mean, Microraptor's a cool
Yeah.
fossil, in its
Yes.
own right. Yeah, and I did meet Julia Clark, one of the paleontologists who looked over the fossil. When I met her, I didn't know that at the time, though, so I'm very sad when I found that out later. Zhu Jing was another one. He's a famous Chinese paleontologist. He's well known for all the feathered theropod fossils that were found back in the 90s. That was him and a few other guys. So, um, okay. Anyway, Peking Man. That's Homo erectus, which literally is a direct human ancestor. Maybe not Peking Man specifically, but
Yeah.
the Homo erectus Homo ergaster complex is directly ancestral to Homo sapiens. Like this isn't even really debated at this point. They just are. Even some creationists are okay with us being descended from Homo erectus now. It's like, come on.
Eh. They were Noah's grandchildren.
Right. Yeah, that's just totally wrong. It's not only is a human ancestor, it's not only is a human, it's a direct human ancestor. Okay, anyway.
a direct human
Also
ancestor.
Never mind.
What'd you say?
It was a minor correction. The tooth of the Nebraska man was actually a peccary, another pig.
Which is not a pig. Everyone's like, oh, it's just a pig. No, peccaries are not pigs. They're in a different like a family, totally different family of artiodactyls. So.
Yeah. Oh, no, never mind.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Later reclassified as not a direct human ancestor. 5.
Wrong.
Java Man claimed to be a missing link between
That's
apes
just
and
another
humans,
Homo erectus.
later reclassified. 6.
No.
Lamarckian inheritance of acquired characteristics. 7. Lysenkoism
pause.
for crop improvement.
Pause. Okay, this is ironic because Lysenkoism is explicitly anti-evolutionary. Like it's literally anti-evolution, anti-Darwinism.
It's evolutionary in its own way, but of course it's anti-Darwinian evolution.
Well, because it was anti-Darwin, anti-gene.
Yes.
So like to say that Lysenkoism is evolution, like, oh, come on. That's so silly. Oh, Jake Nelson for $10 says Nebraska Man, Piltdown Man, 2 fails against how many Bible fails? I don't even say that those are fails on evolution. In fact, I think that they're positives on evolution because Osborn didn't do anything wrong. He operated with the data he had available,
Yeah.
which is fine. Things get reclassified. There's nothing wrong with that. But
It was a popular journal that made the
Right.
strong claim that it was a human ancestor.
Right, and Piltdown Man, that was really more the fault of some British anthropologists,
Oh
like,
yeah,
having their sort of nationalistic fervor. That was
like
more
the most likely suspect was I believe Dawson, the guy named Dawson, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
was the most likely suspect who faked the fossil, and of course the British anthropologists, as you mentioned before, the British anthropologists were very willing to accept a proud British specimen of a
Mhm.
early human ancestor. Yeah.
Yeah, Lamarckian inheritance of acquired characteristics, I mean, depending on who you ask, we still kinda have that in evolutionary biology. I mean, like, okay, I read a paper not too long ago that talked about, like, what does the concept of acquired characteristic even really mean? For instance,
Hmm.
if you are near like radiation, for instance,
Yeah.
then that radiation can change your, say some of the DNA in your gametes. Is that not an acquired characteristic? And you can say, well, yeah, it's a change to your DNA that can be passed on, but you acquired it environmentally, didn't you?
Yeah.
So isn't that an acquired characteristic that is inherited across generations? Well, yeah. So like, another thing, plasmids. Plasmids are another example of like that can be acquired inheritance, but we
Yeah.
all accept that.
Horizontal gene transfer. Yes. Yeah.
Right, we all accept the horizontal gene transfer happens. That's not in dispute at all. So it's like you really have
It's
to be more
mhm.
specific with what you mean.
Yes, it's often the case that people will equate acquired characteristics with Lamarckian inheritance, but Lamarck specifically proposed that like traits were modified or new traits appeared via use and disuse. Basically, the desire of the organism itself, or the goals of the organism itself,
Mhm.
and in its own behavior made it acquire new traits. Like the classic example of the giraffe's neck. Oh, the giraffe wants to reach the trees and stretching his necks, and that stretching, the desire of wanting to reach those leaves made the neck longer each generation, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the epigenetics as we now have it is not Lamarckian in that sense, even though
No.
some people try to claim it's Lamarckian or neo Lamarckian. It's really not. Um, the Again, you have to be more specific with what you mean by acquired characteristics, but epigenetics has nothing to do with just wanting to stretch up higher to reach leaves or what have you. So yeah, no. So yeah, Lysenkoism is anti-Darwinian, so that's just
Hmm.
silly. Eugenics for human improvement. Well, okay, you have to be kind of careful with what you mean here because eugenics is just artificial selection, right? I mean, we do eugenics on dogs when we're breeding them, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, obviously,
I
while it's totally okay for us to do it to other organisms, it's not okay for us to do it to
Well, I would
ourselves.
also argue. I'd also argue that we need to change how we breed dogs, because dogs do have, or many breeds of
Sure,
dogs do have very specific problems. Yeah, but
Yes.
absolutely.
but eugenics is also a very specific. There's of course a lot of details, but it's not just simply artificial selection applied to humans. It's also a very specific political project
Well,
that
sure, right. We want
it prompts up the elite, and
yes,
this
the nice white
disparages the poor.
society,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we want the aristocrats to
Hmm.
survive and outpopulate the all the terrible poors
Yeah.
of the world. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, again, like eugenics, like the concept is it's not wrong. It's just it's not necessary. I mean, well, in the sense of like referring to selection, like artificial selection is not wrong, right? I mean, it's employing the principles of evolution. We're just guiding which way it's occurring. You could say
Yeah.
eugenics is morally wrong. Okay, yeah, absolutely, sure. But
It's also it can be said, like, for example, if if a couple and they are aware that they are carriers for a genetic disease like Huntington's, for example, they can make their own decision of like doing in vitro fertilization and making sure that their offspring won't inherit this Huntington's trait, basically. That of course you can say is that eugenics? To me, no, because they are making their own choice. The eugenics is a specific political project. I would describe that is imposed on society.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that.
Jackson,
I think you're gonna. What'd you say?
Yeah. Before you go to the next point, I just noticed that we had a new evolution, not in biology, but in YouTube. I don't know if you've noticed. Can you scroll back in the chat to the last super chat from Jake Nelson?
And where you can like it? Yeah, I see that.
You can like it. So I'm really curious. We have a few people in chat who do not have a wrench. Are they able to like it as well? And if possible, people, can you just like the chat? Because he gave Jackson $10. Just like it. It would be nice. But that's a new feature. I haven't seen that before.
I also had not seen that. Yeah, I think you're right.
But I'm curious if someone who doesn't have a wrench can tell me whether or not they can like the tweet.
Yeah, Bitcoin says yes. Everyone can like it.
Nice.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the thing with eugenics was like, I mean, I suppose it's more of like a subjective, like, should you involve yourself in this political project? I would argue not, of course. But I wouldn't say that that's like wrong per se. Like, I wouldn't say it's like objectively wrong. I would say there are arguments you can make against it, why there's not a reason to do it or why it can be harmful. But additionally, like, eugenics was popular among biologists for quite a while. The reason it fell out of favor was not necessarily the arguments against it. It was that a certain someone very popularly did eugenics, and that made it uncool. So, yeah. Anyway, simple protoplasmic cells. Yeah. Some people believe this. That like the cells are just like little jelly or whatever, and that's not true. Some people try using that as an argument against like evolution, which is kind of silly because Darwin never based any part of evolution on cells being like very simple at all. Like, read his writings, go ahead. But he never did that. So it's really weird that people try to say like, oh, Darwin thought cells were simple, so that means evolution's wrong. No? Like, what? I don't know. All right, we can keep going.
8. Eugenics for human improvement. 9. Simple protoplasmic cells.
Okay, what does that mean?
10. Simple static proteins.
What does that
11.
mean?
All dinosaurs as cold-blooded slow creatures. 12. Universal gradualism. 13.
Wait,
single
pause.
tree of life.
Pause.
Okay,
so dinosaurs being...
That was the dinosaurs are cold-blooded. Is the Richard Owen, right? Richard Owen was the one who insisted on dinosaurs being cold-blooded. Yeah.
Right. Which, I mean, some dinosaurs are still considered to be more cold-blooded than others, right? Dinosaurs are mesothermic kind of as a group. They sort of span the whole like spectrum. Some were more cold-blooded, like ornithischians and sauropods were more cold-blooded. But theropods, which includes the birds, uh, became progressively more warm-blooded as they became more derived, which I know, crazy. Theropods exhibit transitional characters? Wow, who would have thunk it? What was the second one?
I forgot. I cannot see the second
Peter,
one
can we go
anymore.
back like 10 seconds? Is that possible? Please.
Let me see.
I mean, single tree of life is still true. Like universal gradualism. Yeah, no, that's yeah. I mean,
that was one of the. I think Darwin was did say that gradualism was basically the default, right? Or did Darwin even allow for like non-gradual?
he did allow for non-gradual evolution. He mentioned that the brachiopod oh shoot, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this. The one that's like that's oh my gosh, can someone remind me the name of the brachiopod that everyone's like, oh, it's been around for 500 million years?
Oh,
Lingula, there we go. Yeah,
Yeah,
Lingula. Yeah, Darwin was like, "Oh, I don't think Lingula has really evolved that much." So he pointed out examples of like stasis. But yes, for Darwin, typically phyletic gradualism was the norm, but it was not necessarily always phyletic gradualism. You could have stasis.
And it was also Huxley who like warned him
Yes.
about like you shouldn't assume gradualism as like or phyletic gradualism as the default mode, basically.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And like we said, single tree of life, that is true. That's still true. That is still accepted by biologists. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
the topology is always discussed, and of course we have horizontal gene transfer that makes the prokaryote tree very fuzzy, especially at the early beginnings. But there is still very strong evidence that there is a phylogenetic pattern in that, and we discussed that also in our video on horizontal gene transfer.
We can keep going.
13. Single tree of life. 14. All of the core tenets of Darwinism. 15.
Which are what?
Biogenetic law. Ontogeny recapitulates.
Pause. So again, like they never expressed what. I mean, the core tenets of Darwinism, like historically, are like what? There's variations, that all individuals have slight variations. Those variations are heritable across generations, and those variations can be selected by the environment. Like those are the three core tenets of Darwinism, right? And all three of those are still true today. Variation, heredity, and natural selection are still part of evolution. They haven't gone anywhere.
And Echo is in the house. 15. Heckle is in the house. 15.
Oh, Haeckel, yeah. It's the
you
biogenic law.
Yeah, biogenic law. Well, I was talking about for the. Well, I guess this is true.
The
Yeah.
embryos,
So the embryos. Yeah. So they're saying it without saying it.
Yeah.
They're referring to like the Haeckel embryos recapitulating.
It's kind of
ontogeny recapitulating phylogeny.
Kind of funny that if you keep repeating, when you finally can repeat something, you don't repeat it, and you leave out Haeckel. That's just sad.
Yeah. So the concept of ontogeny recapitulating phylogeny is it's simply the idea that as an organism develops, they go through the stages of their evolutionary history.
Yeah.
Which yes and no. Like broadly, no. Broadly, no. Organisms don't go through the adult stages. So as we as mammals, being descended from other amniotes that we would traditionally classify as reptiles, we don't go through a reptile stage in our development. We don't go through an amphibian stage or a fish stage, because as von Baer, Ernst von Baer pointed out, or Carl Ernst von Baer, it is the embryos of different species that are similar to each other, not the adults, right? So
Yes.
you
Yeah,
have
the recapitulation theory treats development as like a roll of film, which is replayed every time the next generation is born. It's like, oh, it rolls the tape. It's the exact same tape as its ancestors uh, throughout the entire life cycle, basically. So it's a very very specific idea, which is yeah, in the specific sense, it's wrong. But as you mentioned, there are very curious similarities between related species, especially when even when you look at broad groups like again the phylum, for example, you can see a lot more similarities during the early developmental stages at the how's it called again, the phenotypic stage. Yes, the phenotypic stage.
and the and with and so actually in certain cases ontogeny does kind of recapitulate phylogeny in some like small scale cases. So for instance, um for us, I'll give you an example that's for us. When you're developing, your inner ear bones, your malleus and incus, start out in your jaw, and then they migrate upwards into your ear. And the reason they do this is we are descended from, again, traditionally called reptiles, the earlier synapsids, who had more. They had those inner ear bones, but that were part of their jaw, right? And today, reptiles and birds have uh, those bones in their jaw, the malleus and incus.
Yeah, the developmental pattern is still the same, but a change happened in the mammals that shifted these parts towards the inner ear. Yes.
Yeah, and so we recapitulate, in a sense, that evolutionary change as we develop. So the bones go from they're not fully ossified yet, so they're still like cartilage, but they start
And
out.
that's why recapitulation is a bit of course a misnomer, because they are
Right.
they're not the adult versions of what used to be in our ancestors, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a sort of
exactly.
it's sort of like the evolution writ small. It's like a very scaled down, like shortened version of what happened, sort of, is basically how you could describe it. So I mean, like that's kind of like recapitulation. You have the bones that were in our jaw moving up to our ear. They do that in every single individual human, unless you have some kind of developmental problem. And that's how they get there. They don't just start like in the ear like the stapes does. Um, another example, one that I really like, is flatfish, and we're going to talk about this in our next video. Actually, is flatfish start bilaterally symmetric, and then one eye migrates to the left side of the head, and they lay down basically on their right side. So they
Yes.
become asymmetric. Uh, well,
So
another is
it also reminds me something similar in oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm curious. Isn't it so that in whales, legs develop and then are later back absorbed into?
Yeah. Also.
yes, yep.
So
they're
that's
reabsorbed. Yep.
that would also be an example.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep, you're right.
and about the symmetry, something similar also happens in the echinoderms. Like the modern echinoderms, they have a 5-point radial symmetry as adults. But if you look at their larval stage, the larvals are still bilaterally symmetrical. Just like and that it makes sense, because even though the adults are radially symmetrical, the echinoderms are within the group of bilaterians, and they are actually more closely related to us than they are to like insects, for example.
Yeah. Or another example we talked about in the Ancestors Tale series was we talked about how the air breathing organ that the anabantiforms, like the betas, gouramis, snakeheads, The breathing organ they have is not the swim bladder. They don't use their swim bladder for breathing. They have a separate organ, which is a modified epibranchial bone. So basically, fish have a
Yes.
series of bones in their throat, and the first epibranchial bone for the Anabantiforms is it has like all these little bony processes coming off of it, and there's tissue between them, and that facilitates them passing the oxygen to their bloodstream. But
Yes.
the cool thing about it is when they're born, that doesn't exist yet. They develop it after they're born. So yeah, they again recapitulate the formation of like the all the little processes coming out and everything.
It's almost like a very subtle form of metamorphosis. They evolve a
Yeah.
new organ even after they have been they hatch from the egg. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, in one sense, as Nestle said, it's kind of a bad kind of a bad word to use. It doesn't really fully capture what's actually happening.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a way of describing it. But
I
I mean,
still tend to refrain the usage of recapitulation because of the historical meaning. It can confuse people when you use it that way. So I tend to avoid using recapitulation, even in this way. Yeah.
yeah. 16 universally conciliant
Oh,
phylogenies.
Jackson.
So the
we had one question in chat, and I
Oh.
think it is correct. DSO Pack says, "Don't some snakes have hind butts too?" I think there are
boids,
snakes.
yes.
Yeah, I think
Boids have the hind limb bud, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The constrictors, yes, they are still like an early offshoot of the snakes. Although there is an even earlier offshoot of the snake group that are like the blind snakes, right? Or how do you call those again?
Yeah, I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think you're right.
Those are very weird. Those blind snakes, but within the typical snakes, an early divergent lineage are those constrictors, and yes, and they still have hind limbs, vestiges of hind limbs. Yeah.
Yep, they got the one little claw. I
Mhm.
do think it's also cool in snakes how the most basally derived snake groups have both lungs, and then a little bit more
Mhm.
advanced, you get the loss of the one lung becomes vestigial. It like starts getting like smaller and smaller, and then in the most like the advanced group, like the colubrids, they've completely lost the second lung, so they just have the one lung, which I think is pretty cool. Show kind of all the different stages
Mhm.
of that evolution. Universally conciliant phylogenies. So the word conciliant means agreement between the approaches to a topic of different academic subjects. I mean, so I guess what they're just saying is like, does morphology and genetics and biogeography and ontogeny and the fossil record, do these all give consistent phylogenies? And the answer is yeah, like they do.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Of
you
course,
I don't know what you want.
of course, it's again, it's the same argument that we also addressed before about like there are sometimes disagreements about the exact placement of one lineage versus another lineage, and those edge cases are often pointed out as, oh, see, they don't know anything about anything. Like no, that's not true at all. Like for the most part, basically most relationships are well established between
Yeah, especially between
especially in
larger
animal.
groups.
Yes, especially in animal groups, yeah, and also plant groups as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole like I mean, the fact that humans are nested among the hominids, by morphology, by genetics, by ontogeny, by the fossils, like it's all these different independent lines of evidence point in the exact same direction. Linnaeus knew this in the 1700s. We know it today. I don't know what to tell you. Universally conciliant nested hierarchy. This
That's
kind
the
of seems
same
like the
thing.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is repeating itself again. Wow, what a shock. All right, we can keep going.
phylogeny, 16 universally consilient phylogenies, 17 universally consilient nested hierarchy. Here are additional failed predictions of evolution. Evolutionary biology, list 2. 1. DNA code is not special. 2. The cell's fundamental molecules are universal. 3.
Wait, pause.
Mutations are not adaptive.
Pause. DNA code is not special. In what sense? What does that mean?
What do they mean that, like, for example, the human genome is not unique? Like we do have an ape genome.
I don't think that was ever.
Are they referring to that or something like?
Because I don't think that was ever
I
a
don't know.
prediction that like every species would have a completely different genome. There was an argument at one point that natural selection would remove like deep homologies among different groups. Now that was an argument. It turns out that deep homologies do exist among different groups. Like, we share PAX6 with all other bilaterians, as well as like a number of other Hox genes.
Yeah,
or homeobox genes. Sorry.
We also share a PAX6 homolog with the jellyfish as well, I think.
Yeah. Heck, there's even a core eukaryotic set of genes. Like literally all eukaryotes share genes. Like one of them is I can't remember what the name of it is. It's a fusogen protein that's involved in how the sperm contacts with the egg and shares its DNA. Like that.
The fusion protein?
Yeah, the fusion protein is like a literal like core eukaryote gene. Like
I think it may be unique to. I think you're referring to something that's unique to the unicorns. I think, or maybe I'm misremembering.
Oh, hold on. Let me go look it up. Give me
or
a second.
the opisthocons.
I probably misheard. Unique to the unicorns?
Unicorn.
Uniconta.
Sorry.
All right, hold on. Give me a sec. Nestle, distract them with your juggling.
And also, Peter, no, it also does not mean singular but.
Okay.
Because in Dutch unicant can't sounds like but in Dutch.
Yes.
Oh, come on. I know it's around here somewhere. Hold on.
I did notice that we don't all have the same butts.
It is HAP2/GCS1, which is conserved across nearly all major eukaryotic clades, with the exceptions of vertebrates and fungi. So it is a core. So the reason is it's not conserved in vertebrates is they developed another gene that does the exact same thing, and so it basically got lost because it's why have two copies of the same thing, right? So it just became, or it accrued mutations until it like completely lost its function. So you could say we still have it, but it doesn't perform that function in us anymore. It's not. That's not what it's for anymore in us, in vertebrates. So, but yeah. So basically, there are some genes that are shared across all eukaryotes. So just all eukaryotes have some genes in common. But like, I genuinely don't know what he means by this. I don't know what he means by DNA code is not special.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah.
The cell's fundamental molecules are universal. That's true. They are fundamental though, like ribosomes, proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, lipids. These are universal. I don't. What does that mean? What is he saying? They're not universal, or that biology thought they wouldn't be universal? Because I'm not aware of any arguments to that effect. Are you, Nestle?
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what he's trying to say, but yeah, it's
mutations are not adaptive. Well, mutations in and of themselves are not adaptive. The adaptations result from natural selection. So,
mutations are like for the they are fortuitous events, basically. Right. They don't happen. They don't happen with a goal in mind.
Mutations are random, quote with respect to fitness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
There was an argument that maybe mutations are adaptive, and that was the Luria-Delbruck experiment demonstrated that they are not. Which is also what killed ICR's continuous environmental tracking 80 years ago. Competition is greatest between neighbors. That's true, though. I mean, like intraspecific competition is pretty great. It's pretty serious, if not more serious than interspecific. I don't know. Um, I mean, Darwin said that back in. I guess they're saying these are things that biology says that are wrong. Or no, that can't be the case because it says mutations are not adaptive.
Yeah, I
But
think
then we argue
they
mutations are
accidentally.
adaptive.
Yeah, I think they accidentally switched between the two. Like first they are saying like, oh, this is what biologists are saying, but it's wrong. And then they are saying like, oh, this is true. Like mutations are not adapt. Like they are switching between the two meanings basically.
I guess
It's
they're just
very
inconsistent.
confusing. Yeah.
Then it just says protein evolution. Like
It's not finished yet. Is it finished?
I see a period there. I think
Oh,
that sentence is
just
finished, but
protein.
just
Alright.
all of proteins don't evolve. That never happens. We are not aware of any proteins
Mhm.
that are different ever. They're all exactly the same. Okay.
Oh,
Alright.
was the protein again that they evolved to like cut the DNA of HIV? Like I think you also
recombinase.
mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yes.
CRE recombinase. Yeah, which awesome. That like such a cool experiment. I think it was like Sarkar 2007 or something like that. Yeah, these researchers took E. coli and made it progressively better at cutting out a section of HIV DNA that it could not originally cut out. They had to so they basically
Mhm.
had to evolve it towards being better at cutting out the section. So they took a section that was like 50% similar, and then they had to add more mutations like gradually to kind of coax the E. coli into over
Oh.
generations getting better at cutting out this segment.
Oh, so basically, did they like first they gave him they gave the protein an easier target that is
Yes.
like 50% similar to the DNA of HIV, and then they gave him progressively a harder target that was
Yes.
more, increasingly more similar to the true target. Ah, that's very
Correct.
clever.
Yeah, it's an awesome experiment. Super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's an example of a protein evolving. That's an enzyme. Enzymes are proteins. So there you have it, folks. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, we can keep going.
4. Competition is greatest between neighbors. 5. Protein evolution.
Okay.
6. Histone proteins cannot tolerate much change. 7. Molecular clock keeps evolutionary time. 8. Pentadactyl
Wait,
pattern
pause,
and common descent.
Pause.
See, they are again switching the meaning. Like first they say histone proteins cannot tolerate much change, and I think they would agree with this sentence. And then
That they
number
can
7,
tolerate
then
change.
they just then they.
Oh wait, so they're saying histones can tolerate change, or they're saying histones cannot tolerate change?
I think they are saying they are agreeing with the statement histone proteins cannot tolerate much change.
But they don't agree that molecular evolution or molecular clocks
Yeah.
keep evolutionary time.
Exactly. They switch between the two. What they are trying to do basically.
Bizarre.
They list statements they don't agree with, and they list statements they do agree with, but all at the same time in this. I think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know much about the biology of histones. I don't know if it's the case or not that they can tolerate much change. Sorry, Nestle, do you know if that's true or not true?
So can you repeat that?
I genuinely don't know like much about the biology of histones. Do you know if they can or can't tolerate change? I don't know. I don't know about that one.
But histones are pretty conserved. Like eukaryotes have histones, of course, and there are also
Okay.
histone-like proteins in archaea. But I'm not familiar with the sequence conservation about that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't know much
familiar.
about them, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Okay. Um, molecular clocks keep evolutionary time. I mean, that's true. They do in fact do that, and we've tested this many times over the past 50
Mhm.
years now. It's pretty I mean, yeah, you can say like, oh, there are complications. Well, yeah, there are complications with it. And actually, we're going to talk about that in the Velvet Worm's tale.
Mhm.
But just saying, oh, well, there are complications doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Pentadactyl pattern and common descent. Are they saying that the pentadactyl pattern is not indicative of common descent? Because it is.
Yeah.
Like it's um tetrapods. Um, Basically, all crown tetrapods, started
Mhm.
ancestrally with the pentadactyl pattern. Now, many lineages lost fingers, but
Yes.
the pentadactyl pattern is plesiomorphic for crown tetrapods. Like
And
that's just facts.
perhaps they are referring to like the stem tetrapods, which have like 8, 7, or 6 digits. Perhaps. I don't know.
Maybe, but even still, like that doesn't bear on the
Yeah.
fact that all crown tetrapods. I don't know. It's weird.
Mhm.
Serological tests reveal evolutionary time. This is a reference to the early versions of molecular clocks, like where they did like immunological tests. Basically, you take a sample from one species and you can like inject it into other species and see how they respond to it, how their body responds, and then you can
Mhm.
classify or categorize whatever um their the intensity of their responses to the sample as their evolutionary relatedness. So you can pattern that out and determine who's most closely related to who. And this was done for primates, this is done for felids, and the tests were pretty generally accurate. I mean, maybe probably not for everything, but like we talked about this with regard to primates. I think in the chimp's tale, it's been a while, but like they were correct. I don't know what
Mhm.
you want. They were right. um. Okay.
Also, going back to point
Oh, sorry.
7,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I don't know worries. I think Dr. Dan also makes this point recently with his debacle with I forgot the name of the creationist. He's recently arguing it about like the substitution rate, and he
Oh, was
points
that
to an
Jensen?
example. I think so. Yeah, he points to the fact that we have a known historical events like humans populating an island. I forgot the name
Yes.
of the island. Yes, and then they see that like, oh, the estimation according to our substitution rate of the mitochondrial DNA matches the known date of the uh, colonization of that island.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a similar to the molecular clock basically. Like we know that.
There was a study with tortoises where they looked at these researchers like made a molecular clock for this tortoise population. Like the population dropped real low following a volcanic event,
Hmm.
and you can see that. Uh, yeah, science nerd Tristan da Cunha, I think was the island. I think that's right. Um, but like you can track that in their genomes. You can see that the population got real small. That's happens with it's called like what is it, Markovian, like, oh shoot, Markovian, like sequential pairwise coalescent or something like that. It's basically you do genomic analyses and you can see where the genomes like converge, and and you can use that as a proxy for how large the population was at a given time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so you can model the changes in the size of the population over time. And wouldn't you know, there was never a time in human history when we went down to 8 or 2 people. Crazy. Crazy stuff. We talked about that in, I think it was the Tasmanian's Tale. I think it was the Tasmanian's Tale. It's been a while.
Hmm.
Like what, 3 years?
Speaking about
4 more
clocks,
years, people. We will be finishing in 4 more years.
Mm-hmm.
speaking about
What'd you say,
clocks,
Peter?
I just did. I don't know if anyone has so far because the channel name is Christianity 101. The website
Okay.
is, as you can see on screen, gosci.net, which is weird because Go is an abbreviation of God. So why not? Why lose the D? But
Oh, so they have a web.
if you
Okay, I kind of want to see
if
this
you
website.
go there, I mean that's I thought I had turned on the Wayback Machine because this is a website design that was really popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. It fills about half your screen. And it's not even
Yeah,
in the
look at
center
this.
of the screen either.
John. Oh, so the person who made this is named John Kinson. So he's responsible for this nonsense.
Yes, and so
God and Evolution: How an Atheist Scientist Changed His Mind. Dun dun dun. Oh, it's a book. I ain't reading that.
Also, Alexander in the live chat says, I'm still mad at our ancestors for losing the full ancestral set of 8 fingers. Well, you say that, but would you really want to have a base 16 numerical system?
Well, I'm sure if we were taught it from an early age, it wouldn't be very difficult. But
Jackson,
what
do
is?
you know who you have to email if you want to maybe get in touch with the person behind this? The email is logicaltheist@gmail.com.
Okay.
So maybe you should send them an email and invite them over and say, hey, we did a few things on your show.
Why not?
Can we have a chat?
Wait, where'd you find their
If you go to About, and then About, there's you can click Contact.
Oh, okay.
And then when you click Contact, you can click Contact Email.
Wait,
which
About, where's the... Oh, About Us, here we go.
Yeah.
Contact. Okay, sure, let's do it. Let's email to contact email. Oh.
Yeah, that'll open your email client. But if you hover over that, you can see at the bottom in Chrome, it'll show mail to, and then the email address.
Mail to logicaltheist@gmail.com. Sure, let's do it. Let's get him on. That'll be fun.
That would be a fun thing to do. Figure out where the scripts come from, because people in chat have also been looking for the lists and have found the lists that he's using in this particular video. And it seems there's more repeats of the repeats, because there's even a playlist with a repeat of the repeats that has the repeat as the title of the playlist. I mean, it's
live
fun.
emailing pure content, says DM. Yeah. Okay.
But it would be fun to see whether or not they want to come on.
Yeah, I'll see if I'll see if he's interested, or if he's alive or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Okay. 10. Biology is not lineage specific. I also don't know what that means. I have no idea what he means by that. So anyway, all right, moving on.
9. Serological tests reveal evolutionary time. 10. Biology is not lineage specific. 11.
Okay.
Similar species share similar genes. 12.
Wait, that's true.
MicroRNA. 13.
What about it?
Genomic features are not sporadically distributed. 14.
Why would they be?
Gene and host phylogenies are congruent. 15.
That is true.
Gene phylogenies are congruent.
That's
16
the same thing.
species should form an evolutionary tree. 17
That's
complex
they
structures
do?
evolved from simpler structures. 18.
That's true.
Structures do not evolve before there is a need. 19.
That's
Ultra-conserved
how evolution
elements.
works.
20.
What about them?
Nature does not make leaps. 21.
I mean, it depends on how
The
you
major
define
plant groups share a common ancestor. 22.
They do.
Altruism. 23.
What
Cell
about
death. We will
What about
discuss
it?
these failed predictions in future videos. Conclusion.
Oh, thank
Biology
goodness.
has a long history of being wrong, and so does evolutionary biology. So there is no need for any rational person to accept
Hey, I literally
naturalistic
studied those
mega-evolution simply because many, but not all biologists believe in it. Thanks to Dr. Cornelius Hunter, PhD in biophysics and
pause.
computational biology.
Pause. My thesis was on the evolution of iridescence in beetles. That was a chafer. I literally did stuff on like their evolution. Cool. Okay. Anyways. Okay. Anyways. All right. So we got 5 minutes. I guess we can go back to the other screen. Nestle, did you have fun?
We're close to the end of this video.
It
Do you
depends on
want?
how you define fun.
It's basically over. I think this video is it's over. It's just saying thanks and like and subscribe, which you all should. You should like and subscribe, but to me, not to them.
Yeah.
And if by any chance you are subscribed to them, unsubscribe.
Do it. Yeah, do it now.
Yeah.
Subscribe to me instead.
Their entire YouTube channel is basically a car with no wheels and no engine. I was hoping that I could use this because in the last video they said that about 10 times, and I thought I'm going to make a cool animation to go with that, and they mentioned it only once. It's so sad.
Oh well, Peter, a question: is it animation like discrete, or can you double click and send two cars at the same time?
No,
like
no.
One
It's
after the other, basically. Or
so
not?
this is. I was very lazy doing this because you can now animate things in OBS instead of having to animate them in a video editor. So this is an animation in OBS. I could.
So it's a discrete animation. So if you double click, it will restart basically. If you double
Yes.
click.
If so, one click is the car driving through the screen, and then the double click is the car going back, but that happens in a thousandth of a second, so you can't actually see that on screen.
All right. Yeah. You can see it. Yeah.
Want to see me do it? Want to see me run to that hill? Want to see me do it again?
It does reverse. So.
And I'm a YouTuber, I guess. I don't know how I describe myself. I'm a YouTuber who makes videos about evolution. Would you be interested in coming on my channel for an interview? Or
Also,
for a discussion on evolution and creationism.
So Vadim in the chat says when you contact the author, you'll see Chat GPT's prompt.
Yeah.
Probably right. Thank you and oops. See, thank you and have a nice day. Okay, let's see. My name is videos about evolution.
Deep Wing says content. Live emailing.
YouTube.com/ Okay. All right, cool.
Hive Size says also, when are you going to do the Moscovy's dog's tail? Like we have flung past the birds.
Yeah, we were way past the birds at this point. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hive Size. So we don't. So if for anyone who's unaware, we don't come up with the tales. We're doing a review of Richard Dawkins and Yan Wong's book, The Ancestor's Tale, which is what came up with the tales. So every tale that we do is just a review of theirs. So we're not making them up. We did mention the Galapagos tortoise's tale in, I think it was the Ergas tale, because technically the Galapagos tortoise's tale is not in the Ancestor's Tale. It's in Science in the Soul, which is a series of essays that Dawkins wrote. It's basically his like, it's kind of like what Gould used to do. So Gould would write these books that were like collections of essays, like Ever Since Darwin, Bully for Brontosaurus, The Flamingo Smile. Those are all like collections of essays, and that's kind of what Dawkins did, or Dawkins and Wong did. Maybe you can come up with your own tale.
Yeah.
You know, Bree, once we're finished with
Jackson's tale.
What? Once we're finished with the Ancestor's Tale, we're done with this book. We're gonna be done. The next project that we're gonna be working on is we're gonna be reviewing another book chapter by chapter, but we will not be doing it positively like with Dawkins and Wong. We're going to be doing it negatively. We're going to be ripping a book, and that will be um, Inconvenient Facts Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know, which is about why climate change is fake and gay and whatnot.
Ooh.
So yeah, so I'm very excited for us to go through that
So
because we have a little bit
basically,
of content
Jackson.
addressing some climate change stuff, but not a lot.
So basically, the difference between theists and atheists is that where atheists rip books, theists like to burn books. That's the difference.
It's true. Just ask Florida or Arkansas. Yeah.
I recently saw, I forgot what it was, someone who's running for office with
It
a
was
super soaker as a
he was
flamethrower. That was really
yeah, he
safe to
was
do.
he a
No, it was a she.
was he
It was a
hold on,
woman.
I gotta find this person. Was it Arkansas? Wasn't it? Arkansas
It could be.
politician book burning.
She
Who is
used
it? Yes.
a plastic super soaker to as a flamethrower. So there was some inflammable fluid in a super soaker, and then
No, it wasn't Arkansas, it was Missouri. My bad.
Missouri was, yes, I think so.
It was a man, Senator Bill Eigel.
No,
or
that's
Eigel.
not the one that I. So there was a video on Twitter going viral of a woman with a super soaker, and she had books. If I get elected, this is what I will do, and then she pumps and sprays gasoline on a book,
I don't
which
know.
then goes up in flames.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, Bill Eigel this was the one that I remembered seeing. I don't know which one. I guess you saw a different one. Well, I'm sure, Peter, you can rest easy knowing that there are multiple politicians in
Mm-hmm.
the United States who publicly burn books because it's cool. You know, it's fine. It's whatever. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
I found the link. Valentina.
Was it another Missouri person?
Yes, Valentina Gomez posted the video on Twitter.
So more than one Missouri person. Valentina
wants to burn books. Yes.
Gomez. Cool. I love that. Missouri candidate burns LGBT books with flamethrower. Cool.
Yes.
Cool. We love to see it. I love when our politicians are raving hate mongers who burn books. That's cool. We love to see it.
I really don't like that as well. Like there was, I forget the name of the book, but there was like one book who like some politicians really dislike and want to ban, because as they would say, like, oh, it grooms children or something like that. Like it makes them vulnerable to abuse.
Yeah.
But the exact opposite happened because the same book allowed a child to know how to report an abuser. Like the child read this book and they went to their mother and said, "Hey, my dad or dad, he did this to me," and then and that's how the dad was reported as the abuser.
Right. I mean,
So,
and
yeah.
I know. I think I know what you're talking about, Ness. Like, I think I remember hearing that. Yeah, there's a there's a not insignificant overlap between like trying to like eliminate the like the ways of expressing yourself and also like trying to cover up for abuse. I mean, these things, because when you do that, when you obviously you don't have to explain everything about sex to kids, and why would you? You don't have to. There's no point. But like, if you can give them the tools to express that, like, something's happening to me and I don't like it, or and if you tell them that, give them those tools, then they can um uh uh you know explain and express what is happening to them. I mean, look at how many people did that in the Catholic Church, for instance, right?
Mhm.
You know, centuries and centuries of you're not allowed to talk about this abuse because this is a, hallowed institution that is literally the word of God. They, the the Pope and all the priests and everything, everyone is in direct communication with God. And who are you to try to foist your problems onto the church? Keep it to yourself, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
And they
yeah.
had
just taking away the tools from the people.
they had the options and the tools, because this was another thing that came on my timeline on Twitter. A very nice shaped wooden penis with an ejaculation mechanism found in a chair in a convent. I thought that was the. Why couldn't the males in the Catholic Church be more like the females in the Catholic Church? Use a tool, a toy. And also, Fishhead
Yeah.
Salad said, I'm making a video about a creationist who does not understand biology, and I'm using some of Mr. Wheat's information when it comes to
Oh.
whales and this organism. If, by any chance, Mr. Fishhead Salad, the creationist is Kent Hovind, also use Mr. Jackson's video about whale sex so he can talk about his 15-foot penis a little bit more, because that seems to be one of the favorite topics of Mr. Hovind lately. There's probably not a debate in which he doesn't talk about it.
I mean, it is quite worthy of discussion, I would say.
So I
there's that.
have a very fond memory of a whale penis, one specific one. So when I was 13, you get to a new school to higher education here in the Netherlands, and back when I was 13, that started out with a short trip for a couple of days for the classes to get to know each other, and so there were 2 teachers assigned to each group. And so mine was a female English teacher, and we had our art teacher. And our art teacher had just circumvented the Earth in a sailing boat with a friend of his. And so for one of the evenings, he had a nice presentation of his travels. And so we were asked to help him get stuff from his car. One of the things was a very large I thought it was a branch of wood, and so we placed all of that on a table.
I mean, you could say it was a branch of wood.
You could say that. So, and everyone thought it was. And so during the presentation, he would ask the female English teacher to hold up the artifacts laid out on the table as he was talking. And then he pointed at the big long stick, and so she held it up for us to see. And then he started talking and said, well, this is a whale penis. And she dropped it, which was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And still, that is burned into my memory, that specific moment. That was...
Oh, did the whale penis break on the floor? Like, I hope hope it didn't break.
No, it was really well conserved. So, yeah. Kudos to the taxidermist who made that particular thing, because it was really sturdy. But yeah, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He did not know how fast she should let go of a penis in front of 13-year-old children who thought it was hilarious. All of them, because we're Dutch. We like penis jokes. It's funny.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Well, we are past the 2-hour mark. So I want to thank both of you for being here. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Nestle. Happy
Jackson,
to have you guys.
Can I do a tiny plug at the end of the show?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
As I've mentioned, I recently started working with Natalia Reagan. She's trying to launch her channel. So I would invite everyone to go over to youtube.com @Natalia Reagan and go and subscribe if you like jokes and science and fun. That it's a really good channel to be. I mean, we're planning several live shows. She's going to invite scientists on for specific topics. So I'm really excited that I can be part of that as well.
Nice. Well, awesome. Sounds cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching today, and we will see all of you next Thursday, in theory.
In theory. Okay. Well, we'll see.